here it is, the site of the most highly anticipated wedding in Britain in years, St. George's Chapel, where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will tie the knot here on the grounds of Windsor Castle. Let's go in for an up-close look. The chapel attracts visitors almost every day of the year, but news cameras are rarely allowed inside. With its vaulted ceilings and striking stained glass, it's considered a masterpiece of Gothic architecture. Plans to build St. George's Chapel got underway in 1475. It took more than 50 years to complete. By the time it was done, the man in charge was the infamous King Henry VIII. Centuries later, his body remains interred here, next to that of his third wife, Jane Seymour.
So many royal ancestors are buried there. It's got a great royal tradition. So the Queen's father is there, the Queen's mother is there, and it is very likely that maybe the current royals were buried there as well.
Nowadays, the Queen still attends church services at St. George's Chapel. She was there on Easter Sunday. Well, here's the famous aisle where Harry and Meghan will walk in and later walk out as newlyweds. It's not as wide and grandiose as Westminster Abbey, where William married Kate, or St. Paul's Cathedral, where Charles married Diana, but many royals have tied the knot right here. In fact, Harry himself was carried in at just 3 months old to be baptized right here. The chapel's been hosting royal weddings since at least Victorian times. Prince Charles married his second wife, Camilla, in a civil service in 2005, but the couple chose St. George's Chapel to host prayers afterwards. Then, here again, 3 years later, Harry's cousin, Peter Phillips, married a Canadian, Autumn Kelly, in a private ceremony.
When you walk into St. George's Chapel, it seems tiny, and you can't imagine how they're going to have a huge royal wedding there. But you can actually get a lot of people in there. It's actually very efficient in terms of space. But I have to say that this is the biggest royal wedding that St. George's Chapel has ever seen and will ever see.
With the ceremony happening just to my right, those seated here up front will get the best view in this part of the chapel known as the choir. Not only will they be witnessing history, they'll be seated in a little part of history with this intricate oak carving dating back to the late 15th century. It's a lot narrower here, I must say, than it looks on television. Harry himself knows that very well. He was seated right in this spot the day his father Charles married Camilla. There he is, right next to his brother and soon-to-be best man, William. Directly behind them, their Uncle Andrew, and also singing right along, the Queen and Prince Philip. The pews were all full on that day, and they will be again on May 19th. 600 guests have been invited, meaning some will sit back here in this part of the chapel known as the nave in more modern seating, though in the shadow of that phenomenal stained glass dating back 600 years with the coat of arms of Henry VII. Harry and Meghan aren't planning a Buckingham Palace balcony smooch like Will and Kate did in 2011, but they will get this kind of memorable moment walking out on the west steps of St. George's Chapel, like Charles and Camilla, like Peter and Autumn. The newlyweds can expect to be greeted by crowds as they walk out, but should we expect to see a kiss on these steps? Maybe. That's something history can't tell us for sure. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Windsor, England.